Today, I want to tell you an interesting story. You may or may not have heard this story before, but either way, I believe that this story will completely change your perspective on work, wealth, and what it means to live a truly fulfilled life. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clearer idea of whether you're chasing money for the sake of money or you're chasing money for the sake of happiness, and how to find a balance between the two. So basically, how much money is enough? Let's dive in. Now, there was this American businessman. Let's call him Bob. Hey, Bob. Bob is 42 years old. He's an investment banker and he works for one of these high-end companies on Wall Street. You know the type that wears expensive navy blue suits to work? Yes, that one. Bob loves his job. He's paid very well. But because his job is a high-pressure job with constant tightrope deadlines, Bob is burnt out. He has been having these headaches and he can't sleep. So he decided to pay his doctor a visit. His doctor takes one look at him and says, "Bob, you are stressed. You need to take a break, or your body will force you to take one." Of course, Bob argues that he's fine and he's okay. He doesn't need a break. He has work to do. But Bob's doctor is not having that. He says Bob must take 2 weeks off work and relax. Bob reluctantly agrees. He takes his 2 weeks vacation, which he hadn't taken in years, by the way, and he books a trip to a quiet coastal village in Mexico. Oh, nice move, Bob. Now, you would think that a vacation would be relaxing, right? But old habits die hard. On the very first morning of his vacation, guess what happened? Yes, you guessed right. Bob got an urgent call from work. Is he not supposed to be on vacation? No wonder he's stressed. Well, after that stressful call, Bob was unable to go back to sleep. So he decided to take a walk to clear his head. Now, there was a river nearby, and just as Bob passed by, he spotted a small fishing boat coming in. The boat carried one fisherman and a few large yellowfin tuna fish. Bob was intrigued. He loved fishing, but he never ever seemed to find the time to do some fishing. So he decided to strike up a conversation with the fisherman. "Beautiful fish," he exclaimed. "How long did it take you to catch them?" "Not long," replied the fisherman in perfect English with a relaxed smile. Bob frowned, confused, and asked, "Why don't you stay out longer and catch more fish?" The fisherman, whom we will call Fred, paused as he unloaded his catch into a basket. "I have enough to support myself and my family. I have enough to share with friends," he said. Now Bob was really puzzled, and you could tell by the frown that was forming on his face. "Chill, Bob. It's not that deep." Bob quickly leaned forward and said, "But what would you do with the rest of your time?" Fred smiled warmly, as if he had been waiting for this question all his life. He looked at Bob and he said, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my kids, take a siesta with my wife, and stroll into the village every evening. I sip wine, play guitar with my amigos, and enjoy life. I have a full and busy day." To Bob, this answer was almost offensive. How could someone live like this without striving for more? He puffed up his chest, ready to share his hard-earned wisdom. Bob clears his truth, and then he starts. "Listen, sir, I have a Harvard MBA, and I can help you. If you spent more time fishing, you could sell the extra fish and buy a bigger boat. Eventually, you would have a whole fleet of boats. Then you could sell directly to consumers, open a cannery, and control the entire supply chain." Fred the fisherman listened quietly, nodding as Bob spoke. Bob continued, "You could move to a big city, maybe Mexico City at first, then Los Angeles, and finally New York. From there, you would run your entire enterprise." "And how long would all of this take?" Fred the fisherman asked. 15 to 20 years, Bob said confidently. "Maybe 25 years tops." Fred the fisherman thought for a moment. And then he asked, "But what happens after that?" Bob laughed. It was the laughter of one who had finally gotten his point across. Well, that is the best part. Once you have built your empire, you can retire with millions in the bank. Then you can move to a small coastal village, sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take a siesta with your wife, and sip wine while playing guitar with your amigos. Fred the fisherman smiled, looking directly at Bob with almost a pitiful look in his eyes. And he said, "What do you think I'm doing right now, Sinner?" Bob went back to his room, not only confused, but with a lot to ponder on. When I first heard this story, I sat back and I thought, this story forces you to stop and think. What are you really working for? You might be there thinking, Bob, how could you do that? But so many of us fall into the same trap as Bob. We believe that we need more money, more success, more stuff before we can live the life that we dream of. But the irony is that most of what we're chasing is already within our reach. We just don't see it because we're so focused on someday, something, or even someone. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I retire. I'll be happy when I make X amount of money. But in the process, we miss out on the very moments that makes life meaningful. Sadly, some people get to the end of their life and realize that they never even lived. And that's really, really sad. So take a moment to reflect on your own life. Have you ever worked so hard for something only to realize that what you truly wanted was something simpler? Fred the fisherman wasn't wealthy by conventional standards, but he was rich in the ways that mattered to him. He had time, relationships, and a sense of purpose. Meanwhile, Bob, God bless his heart, he had money but no peace of mind. He was stuck in a cycle of stress, constantly working toward a future that looked suspiciously like what the poor fisherman already had. The question is, which life would you choose? Why do so many of us work endlessly, chasing more, without stopping to think about why? So how much is enough? And how do you know when you have enough? Start by asking yourself, 1, are you meeting your needs and enjoying life right now? 2, do you have time for the things and the people that truly matter to you? And 3, is your financial goal about stability or just accumulating wealth for no clear reason? When your income aligns with your values, when you can cover your needs, and when you're spending your time meaningfully, that's when you know that you have enough. Money is important, no doubt, but life is about balance. Don't just chase success. Define what success means for you. Life isn't just about making a living. It's about making a life. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. We all have that Bob in our life. Send this to them, and I hope that your perspective about money and happiness will change.